Howdy-yo. So today, different angle to start off with, but this is just so that I can show you what my issue has been. Whenever I set up a shot with me in front of the camera, I have to kit out my X-T3. I do love this thing, but it doesn't have a fully articulating display. So it only tilts up a little bit and to the side, partially. It's great for photo, but for video, not ideal. So I have to kit it out with a monitor. And while that works, it's not always ideal. It's a bit bulky, especially for some tighter spaces that I find myself in at times, namely the car updates when I do stuff on there. So after watching one of Brandon Lee's most recent videos, I picked up a couple of the items that he mentioned just to see how they fit my workflow, as well as one other thing that I did to change just because I was kind of impatient waiting for some of the stuff to get in here. So let's take a look. Howdy y'all, and we're just gonna get right into it. The first thing that, as soon as I saw it, I knew that it was just something, it just seemed so obvious, and I couldn't believe that it wasn't more of a popular item. And for all I know, it could be, and I just totally missed the boat. But this is such a cool analog solution to this totally weird digital problem. And this is all it is. And basically, it's just a little hood with a mirror angled at 45 degrees. And what this is meant to do is to function with cameras like this. This is an X-T20, which has an articulating screen that doesn't go all the way around, but as long as you can get it at a 90-degree angle, putting this on top of the hot shoe, which if I unscrewed that, it would go in. And now, if I turn it on, you should be able to see the screen. Now, if you're looking at it dead on, you can see basically everything. The only portion that's a little obscured is because of this eye cup kind of covering some of it, but it works so good. I honestly thought that I was going to return this just because I picked up another solution that I thought was just going to be clearly better. But this is just so cool, and I think it's only like 20 bucks. And this allows me to use this sort of camera in a more, I guess, a vloggy style setup if I really wanted to do that. But for me, normally what I use this kind of thing for is just to sit this camera somewhere that I can still monitor. The only thing I really care about is monitoring the framing. For autofocus, I tend to use other cameras, but if I set up to manual, I still want to know that whatever I'm putting in front of the camera is going to be actually in the frame. So this is such a clever solution, and I just can't believe that I didn't see something like this before. If you're concerned that it's taken up the hot shoe, it does have 3 other hot shoe mounts that you can use in case you need to mount another accessory like a mic. So this is just so cool for 20 bucks. So I'll leave a link to that below. I think it gets sold under a couple different brand names. This one is from UURig, but whatever the case, I will leave that down there. Now the other one is a bit more in the digital realm, and I've tried some wireless video transmitters in the past, but this I was a bit skeptical about. I know that Brandon mentioned it was just 100 bucks, and it is, if I can get my camera to focus, but it is so tiny, and it's just hard to really put that into context. But this is my Galaxy Note 10 phone, and this is the Inkee Benbox wireless video transmitter, and you can see it's just so tiny. Of course, it's a little bit thicker than my phone, but not really even all that much. I had tried other solutions like the Zion video transmitter before, but that one just was really annoying because it doesn't even come with a particular cable that you need to connect it to your camera, because on the transmitter itself, instead of having a full-size HDMI like this one does, it has, I think, a micro or a mini HDMI. So then you need a mini to a micro cable, and I just don't really want to deal with any weird special connections, because if I mess that singular cable up, there's just no really good way to get one very quick. And this works really damn well. If you want something just bare bones, I don't think you can do any better for 100 bucks. Now, it has a full-size HDMI port, like I mentioned, which is really handy, and a full-size USB port, and then a USB-C for charging, which is really nice to have in some of these more budget type things, because the more things that I can move towards USB-C, the better. I really only want to take one cable around. That's the dream anyway. Now, to hook it up, I'm just gonna hook it up over here to my X-T3. And all I have to do, it has its own built-in battery. Hook it into that HDMI port. It creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So I'm gonna turn the camera on. And on my phone, I'll go ahead and connect to that. It's relatively quick. The main thing that I dislike about this is just the instructions are not ideal or not very clear for a lot of the stuff. But anyway, once you connect to that wireless hotspot, which let me just double check that I still am, and I am, open up the Inkee app. And yeah, that's it. You can see there, I'll try to actually capture the phone itself so you can see the lag isn't that bad. I mean, for the stuff that I do, I don't really care too much about the latency as long as it's not like dramatic, which as you can see, it's pretty dang good. Of course, as you get further away, it might slow down a bit. I only tested it in my relatively small apartment, but I can get from one end to the other without really losing all that much. It might get a little choppy, but again, all I really care about is framing. I might not feel super comfortable pulling focus if that's what you're trying to do, but if you're just trying to get framing, this is really, really cool. The app is, again, pretty bare bones, not the most intuitive thing. You can do zebras, you can open up a histogram and turn it to black and white for some reason. Supposedly you can use a LUT also. Not something that I would do, but the one thing that I would like to be able to customize that I can't is the framing guides, just because I tend to shoot a lot of stuff in 2x1 and all it has are these kind of funky ones. That the only one that's vaguely useful for me would be the rule of thirds. The other ones are just very strange choices as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you had a compatible camera, you can connect a USB cable onto the Benbox and then onto your camera, and supposedly you should be able to control some of the settings from there. On my camera, my Fuji cameras that I've tested it on, it doesn't seem like it's compatible, but maybe if you have a different brand, you would have better luck with that. But I really wouldn't buy this with the intention of using all those extra features. Again, I would just buy this if you just want something that's relatively affordable, just $100 for something that I had considered paying, you know, hundreds of dollars in the year prior to this. I was considering getting, I think, the Holyland Mars, which was like closer to $500, but I ended up just kind of halting on that. And I'm glad I did, because this does everything that I need for just $100. So it's really, really killer. And on top of that, aside from being able to connect your phone to it, you can even use it on your computer, which is really, really nice, because it's just a very quick way to get this onto a very large monitor and just see yourself in a bigger view if that's what you really want to do. So if you are interested in this, I will leave a link to this below. The Amazon link that I tried initially was just sold out, or it was just gonna take forever to ship. I ended up buying it from a different site entirely. And that also took forever to ship, so I might as well have bought it on Amazon. And since it took so long, and I'm kind of an impatient person, I ended up buying something else that fit my needs, maybe even better, but it's definitely not in the sort of budget category. What I ended up doing is just buying an entirely new camera to serve the purposes of this when I'm doing shots like this. And that, I will pull this up. You might have been able to see it before, but I'll angle this up here so you can actually see. And I'll take this horrible frame guide off. This is the XT200, and I picked this up. I saw it at a pretty good deal on Autorama for I think supposedly a demo unit or something for I think 60 to 70 bucks cheaper than new, and I just picked it up I think for like $5.30 or something like that. So at a pretty good price, at least for what I wanted it for. I'm not really interested in taking photos with it. I much prefer the experience on my X-T3 for photos. But for this specifically, being able to just record myself, because it has its own screen that I can just fully articulate, see myself. Right now, I just have it on a monopod with a shotgun mic, and it works so well. I used this in my last video as well, and it was just so convenient. There are a couple little things that I would have liked, like F-Log recording. I hate that the SD card is at the bottom with the battery, but I can totally forgive those for just the convenience of having a very small package. But if you have the need for a Fujifilm camera and you're going to be recording some video, you don't want to spend a ton of money or break the bank, this camera is really, really dope. If you have any questions about this, I could definitely go much further into details, but I wanted to include it in a video, but I'm not sure if anybody really wanted a more in-depth one on that, but it's just really nice for this type of stuff. Okay, that's enough rambling for today. If you have any questions about this, about the video transmitter, about the XT200, feel free to leave a comment down below. That'll be it, guys. Feel free to subscribe. Y'all have a good day. See ya.